Many people that are in this chat live in the Western world, especially Americans. Don't you ever think about what is to come next? Seeing stuff like this has to make you recognize that we've lost, right? Like we've lost. It's kind of over, I think. I'm saying it. China is going back to the moon. They have their own space station that is better. The human race is going to space, but they're planting a red flag.
China's Heavenly Palace, the Tiangong, is the most advanced space station ever deployed by the human race. And
wait, what? So they just said, like, we don't trust the Americans. We're going to make our own. Like, we can't, Americans cannot be trusted with the maintenance of the ISS. We're just going to go up there on our own. That's what they did.
And that's a big deal, but it's not really something that the people in the Western world really understand very well or even know that much about. The Chinese have reinvented the space station for the 21st century.
No, they tried to join the ISS, but we wouldn't let them. Dude, what? Dude, Russia's a part of it. That makes no sense. God, we're such salty little assholes, bro. Russia is a part of the ISS. And actually, in recent years, that's been a major problem because we used to apparently use Russian rockets to go up there. And now we can't do that because of obvious reasons.
And this is how they've done it. This is the space race. The thing is, we've been putting space stations into orbit since the early 1970s, but the Tiangong is the first one to stand out as something that looks more like science fiction than the status quo, which is essentially just a submarine in space. Did you know that the first space station ever deployed was a single-module Soviet design from 1971 called the Salyut? And then 2 years later, in 1973, NASA topped that with their own station named Skylab, which was built inside a hollowed-out upper stage of the gigantic Saturn V moon rocket. But it was in 1986 that the world saw the deployment of the first-ever modular space station, which the Soviets named Mir. It would take a decade to assemble the 7-module Mir station, and even with the collapse of the Soviet Union coming right in the middle of the project, the Russians would cement themselves as the leaders in space station development. So when we finally arrive at the International Space Station that we all know so well today, we can see that it shares a lot of resemblance with Russia's Mir. In fact, given that the Russians had decades of experience with multiple space stations, and NASA had virtually zero practical knowledge, I don't think it's unfounded to look at the ISS more like a Mir version 2.0, because it's pretty...
In the field of scientific discovery, the refusal of international cooperation is perhaps one of the dumbest self-goals of all time. It's just so incredibly stupid. You're just cucking mankind for perhaps the dumbest reason. Incredibly frustrating predicament.
Clear where this design approach came from. If we look back from Salyut to Skylab to Mir to ISS, we're not exactly seeing a massive amount of progress or evolution to the design. If anything, the Skylab really sticks out as being the nicest space station of the bunch, and that was literally 50 years ago. The Soviet design aesthetic that carried over all the way to ISS has a lot more in common with a submarine than the Starship Enterprise. It's cramped, it's cluttered, there are pipes and wires, and God knows what else sticking out from all angles. Now we flip forward to China's Tiangong, and the difference is night and day. There are only about 20 years between the ISS and Tiangong, but it looks like a century worth of progress.
Elon Musk lost a spaceship over a SpaceX spaceship over Turks and Caicos. Do we have a video of it? Does anyone have a video? I want to see it. Maybe if he spent less time criticizing Asmongold, he could have made sure that there was necessary protections. Who am I kidding? Of course Elon has no say in what happens on any of this stuff. Actually, he does have a say, but only in a negative way.
What are those? Look up, everybody! Look up! Look up! Are those shooting stars? What is it then?
What are those?
Look up, everybody, look up! Look up!
Debris spot over the Dominican Republic as SpaceX Starship falls apart during test flight. How? I mean, I don't like this because SpaceX lost contact with the Starship during the test flight right now, managed to catch the booster at least. But I don't understand because it's like, wait, was this actually commandeered by someone? Are they dead? What's going on? Or was it an unmanned flight? The robot is dead. It was unmanned. It was a failure. They have launch streams you can check out.
Them, but as you mentioned, Stephen, just the covering the form on the going on.
The payload deployment that we're seeing now here on SpaceX's stream of the Pez dispenser, as they've nicknamed it, popping out those satellites one after the other. I'm curious to see how quickly are they really going to fly out of the payload bay that quickly when they deploy, or are they going to be spaced out at a slower?
Wait, are these Starlink satellites that they're posting up there, or no? It was unmanned. That it was a failure. They have launch streams. What is the payload, chat? Space junk. Yeah, no, that's yeah, it's just popping out junk.
Speed. Eager to see all of that, and it's one of the things that is entirely new about this flight, as you mentioned.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if they have any cameras that are on these simulators. Love to see some views.
It was a dummy payload. Wait, really? Go to 38 minus 38 to see the launch start?
All right, we're more than 30 seconds into flight. Telemetry showing 33 out of 33 engines as it's pitching downrange.
Now more than a minute into flight. Vehicle passing through max Q, the point of greatest aerodynamic pressure. Coming upon a few events in fairly rapid succession here. We'll see booster most engines cut off for MECO. T plus 2 minutes 32 seconds. That'll be followed by a hot staging, and the super heavy booster boost back burn will start at T plus 2 minutes and 46 seconds. Call for max Q.
I'm not on to explain. I mean, I know what he would say, which is that getting mad at Elon Musk for something like this is very stupid. That SpaceX does a ton more testing and launches and has been able to greatly improve scientific capabilities of doing these kinds of space travel, like making it easily accessible and more sustainable. And it's not even Glaze. He's not wrong. It's also not Elon Musk doing it. With the exception of like Elon Musk, I don't know, refusing to change certain things that allow for a lot of debris to like fly over and actually end up harming the actual launch. Elon rarely has like serious input in what this kind of stuff and what happens. It's just NASA, but private. Basically, as far as I understand, I mean, the fact that you can have these boosters, like reusable boosters that you catch with these chopsticks or whatever, is massive. It's true. Elon has nothing to do with it. He's just the guy who gets to take credit in the aftermath. But they have they're constantly testing. They're constantly testing. So, how does it help advance society? Genuine question. It just looks like show off. Space travel? A lot of stuff that you have as commonly used household appliances came from NASA because of all the technological improvements we made for space travel, including but not limited to fire retardant gear that firefighters wear Like, it's not even a question. I love the final frontier. I love space travel. I just wish it was done in government hands, and that there was no fear of scaling it back, basically. But unfortunately, because NASA was never able to maintain adequate funding, we now have this weird public-private partnership. Space travel is not going to happen. That's pure sci-fi. You're wrong. You're so wrong. First of all, it's already happening. So it's ridiculous. Like, I mean, think about it this way, man. There's a literal international space station up there, okay? And people go to it routinely. Like, astronauts fly up to it. Sometimes they get stuck at it if they're flying up with a Boeing vessel. But, like, that's a thing, you know? Think about how insane that is. That is a thing that exists right now. Yeah. We've gone to Mars at this point numerous times with different unmanned vessels. We've landed on the moon. What are you talking about? Space travel will be never a real thing. Unless you think all of that is fake news. I don't know. I think it's very important. And I think it's good that people are working on it. All right. Space travel currently is not possible. It's all sci-fi shit at the moment. I don't know what you guys are talking about. If you're talking about traveling to like anything outside of this galaxy, or even traveling to Mars, yes, you're right. I don't think that we are anytime soon going to be able to travel to Mars. Not going to happen anytime soon. But in terms of like space travel in general, it already has happened, and it will continue to happen. And I think it will even become commercialized as well for extremely wealthy people, like what is it, Blue Origin or whatever Jeff Bezos loves doing. Even though technically, my brother told me that it's a technicality and it doesn't actually go to space, but it's like the furthest point in the atmosphere. So they're kind of cheating it. That's just lower Earth orbit. So lame. Interstellar space is an absurdity. Traveling around our system is possible. I agree with scientists when they say any terraforming you can do to Mars should happen on Earth first. Yeah, no, I also agree with that. I do find that really stupid when people are like, oh, we're going to go to Mars and we're going to terraform it. It's like, how about you terraform your backyard, dumbass? What are you talking about? The world is literally becoming increasingly uninhabitable if we don't fix it. And you have no interest in doing that. Instead, you want to go to freaking Mars. What the hell's wrong with you? Like, that part I do agree with. But also simultaneously, I think that who knows what kind of like raw materials we can find, like minerals and stuff we can find that could greatly accelerate technological improvement. Maybe more efficient sources of fuel or something. You know what I mean? Anyway.
The Tiangong now consists of 3 modules forming a T-shaped space station 55 meters long and 39 meters wide that orbits around 400 kilometers above the Earth's surface. The Tianhe is the core command module, first launched in April 2021. The Wenxian experiment module serves as a combination of crew quarters, research lab, and airlock, which was added in July 2022. The Mengxian module is a twin to the Wenxian and functions purely as a research and experiment space, and joined the station in November 2022. As far as space stations go, this is an incredibly rapid pace of construction. It took Russia and NASA 2 years just to get the ISS to a state where it was habitable, and it was a 10-year international endeavor for ISS to reach a state of completion. And while it might seem like this station came out of nowhere, this is actually phase 3 of a plan that China started all the way back in the 90s that they called Project 921. This is kind of like China's blueprint to conquer space. Phase 1 of the plan was the development and launch of a crew-capable rocket and spacecraft. These would be the Long March 2F and the Shenzhou, which both launched for the first time in 1999. The Long March series of rockets take their name from Mao Zedong's history as a war hero and leader of the People's Red Army. The name Shenzhou means divine vessel. By 2003, this system had put the first Chinese taikonaut into low Earth orbit on the Shenzhou 5 mission. This began phase 2 of the plan, which was essentially a practice phase. By Shenzhou 7, the Chinese had performed their first spacewalk using their own extravehicular suits. Following that, the country began to deploy test modules that were like miniature space stations. Chinese crews would make their first extended stays in space and practice docking maneuvers between the test modules and the Shenzhou. This time also marked the development of China's Tianzhou spacecraft, or Heavenly Ship, which is a cargo transport vehicle with a carrying capacity of 6,500 kilograms. This spacecraft was designed to fly on the new Long March 7 rocket, a modern replacement for the 2F that was first launched in 2016. Phase 3.
Many people that are in this chat live in the Western world. Don't you ever think about what is to come next? Especially Americans. We currently live in the heart of empire. Seeing stuff like this has to make you recognize that we've lost, right? Like, we've lost. It's kind of over, I think.
Of the plan is where we are at right now, the development and assembly of a new space station, the Tiangong, or Heavenly Palace. So why does China feel so strongly about creating their very own space station? Well, for one, because it's really cool. Who wouldn't want their own personal hangout in space? But for two, also it probably has to do with the Chinese being banned from the International Space Station, which is obviously...
If you ask Americans in this day and age, they'll still act like China is a peasant society. Straight up. Like, the average American still thinks that, like, Chinese people live in, like, straw huts or ghost cities, and that it is this, like, very strange place that's backwards and scary. And they have a social credit system, which is ironic because they don't, but we do. Like, we do have a literal credit system. And it's so funny because, like, you could just figure it out on your own. It's not like China is inaccessible. U.S. wants cooperation but needs to correct divided mindset as NASA chief asked for moon sample from China. Bill Nelson, head of U.S. Space Agency NASA, has revealed that in order to join world scientists in analyzing rockets retrieved by China from the moon, he has engaged with American lawmakers to dismiss national security concerns and believes that talks on the issue with China will end positively. Nelson's gesture epitomizes the U.S. divided mindset in engaging with China. It remains entrenched in Cold War thinking. Yet another glaring indication that nationalism is backwards thinking. This is barbarism. This is barbarism. This is barbarism. I repeat over and over again. Getting in the way of scientific discovery due to some weird underlying, completely made up concern of national security. We're cavemen, dude. We're regressing as a society.
Counterintuitive to the literal name of the station, but in 2011, the United States decided that China was prohibited from visiting the station. The Chinese ban was specifically rolled out through a Department of Defense Act passed in the US Congress, which stipulated that NASA may not use their funding to collaborate in any way with China. The reasons given focused around human rights issues and national security. But more than anything, the US was afraid that China would steal their ideas or spy on them or something to that effect, which is a reasonable concern given that both the US and China have been heavily involved in a ton of shady spy stuff for the better part of a century, and that's created a lot of paranoia. Anyway, the Chinese decided to hell with them, we'll build our own, and here we are. The first thing that you'll notice about the interior of the Tiangong is that it looks spacious and wide open, especially compared to the ISS. Tiangong has a very minimalist modern design. What's interesting is that the outer diameter of the Tiangong modules are nearly the exact same as the diameter of the ISS modules, about 4.2 meters or 14 feet across. So the difference is in the volume of internal space available. There are a few reasons for that. For one, the ISS modules are typically much shorter with more connection points in between that create bottlenecks in the structure. For example, the Destiny Lab on the ISS, which is the primary operating facility for US astronauts, is 8.4 meters or 28 feet long, while the Wenxian and Mengtian modules are both 18 meters or 59 feet in length. And for two, the technology on Tiangong is just much more modern and therefore smaller and able to fit into a smaller space. For example, many of the systems on Tiangong will connect wirelessly instead of having to run a labyrinth of cables around like what we see on the ISS. Also, much of the technology on the Tiangong is hidden behind these plain white panels when not in use. I don't know if that's more functional or just aesthetic, or if they straight up
I don't think Murad is even allowed to watch this video. Chatters. He works in space travel for, you know, technically for the American Department of Defense. I feel like if he even watched this video and got got in his feelings somehow, I feel like it would raise a red flag in an additional security clearance lie detector test or whatever. They'd be like, "Hey, have you ever watched a Chinese? Have you ever watched a YouTube video about Chinese space travel that made you feel like they were awesome?" Beep, 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 beep.
up don't want anyone else to be able to see what they're working on, but it does make the station look very clean and modern. I love strategy games and history, which brings us to today's sponsor and a game that has genuinely impressed me, Conflict of Nations. Picture this, it's the late 20th and
How have you being his brother never harmed him? He doesn't tell me shit, brother. What do you mean? Because he's a smart and diligent worker who doesn't around. Like, he loves his job in spite of the many difficulties, and he doesn't tell me nothing.
early 21st century, a time of modern warfare where strategy isn't just about commanding units on the battlefield, but managing resources, alliances, and cutting-edge technology. This is where Conflict of Nations steps in. It's a free online PvP strategy game where you take control of a real country and engage in World War III scenarios. What drew me to it? Realism. Not only do you lead a nation in real-time combat against up to 128 other players, but the game rounds can take weeks to conclude. It's all about deep strategic planning and on-the-spot tactical decisions. Diverse units, from nuclear ballistic submarines, stealth strike fighters, to airborne infantry units, the game boasts over 100 beautifully modeled modern weapon systems. Tech and strategy. An extensive military research tree offers over 250 items for you to explore and enhance your nation's capabilities. Collaborations. As with modern warfare, alliances play a key role. The game allows you to form cooperative clans and team up for collective objectives. Accessibility. And the best part, whether you're on PC or mobile, you can dive into this game seamlessly with
The clearance questions are mostly about financials, contact with foreign governments, and crimes. Mostly see if you can be blackmailed. No, I know. But my point is, this would be blackmail for him. They'd be like, have you ever seen, how is it, has a documentary about Chinese space travel ever made you feel love for the glorious Xi Jinping regime? Yes or no? You know what I mean? That's going to be a question on the security clearance. Virtually impossible for him to say no to that if he watched this, you know?
module of Tiangong successfully reached orbit in April of 2021. This core structure is called the Tianhe, which means harmony of the heavens. The Tianhe is a 20-ton structure with a maximum diameter of 4.2 meters and contains everything necessary for a functional space station that can support a crew of 3.
Chinese astronauts? China has created a special thread so the red flag never fades like ours on the moon. All of US flags on the moon are either white or have been destroyed. Bro, Central Committee, aka Michael from Pennsylvania, is so much more of a China glazer than me. It's crazy. Even he eats Xi Jinping's dick so much sometimes. Even I'm like, come on, bro, just dial it back a little bit. Like, you're gonna get us arrested. You know what I mean? Yeah, Mike from Pennsylvania, more like Mike from Beijing. Beijing. Mike from Chongqing. Dude, we started this because Elon's spaceship exploded, by the way.
It has solar panels, propulsion systems, life support, a robotic arm, and a sophisticated docking node and airlock. There are 3 main sections to the core module. Starting at the smaller end, there is a spherical multi-docking node. This has 4 ports, with one obviously being permanently attached to the Tianhe. The port opposite to the core module is the main docking port for the station. This is where the Shenzhou crew vehicle can dock. The 2 side ports on the multi-docking node are berthing ports for the twin research labs to the core module. The bottom port on the node is a second crew docking port. This is for use during crew handovers when 2 groups of 3 taikonauts are occupying the station simultaneously. And the top port is actually not.
What the hell is a taikonaut? What? Is that different than an astronaut? Wait, the Chinese got a different name for it? Oh, because Russians have cosmonaut, Americans have astronaut, and then the Chinese have taikonaut. Is that what it is? Everybody's got a different name. Is that what it is? It's a type of devil fruit. Okay, what about the European astronauts? What are they called? Like, what about an Australian astronaut? French? Spationaut? No, you're lying. Stop. I gotta look this up now. God, get the frick out of here, dude. Stop. What are French astronauts called? Oh my God, you were right. You weren't lying. It's called spationauts. What are Italian astronauts called? Lame. Nothing. What are Malaysian astronauts? Wait, the Angkasawan program was initiated by the Malaysian government to send a Malaysian to the International Space Station on board Soyuz. The program was named after the Malay word for astronaut, Angkasawan. Wait, what are Polish astronauts called? Probably still cosmonaut, I suspect. Yeah, they're still called cosmonauts. Japanese astronauts are called astronauts. Yeah, that's a big mistake. They should have called them polkanauts. What about Indian? Vyomanauts? Okay, that's kind of cool. India doing too much, dude. Vyomanauts sounds like an alien. Like, that just sounds like you belong up there. You know what I mean?
Not a docking port at all, it's a hatchway. This is for the crew to exit the station and perform spacewalks. Moving up.
Pound for pound, India has done way more for NASA than most space programs, actually. No, I know Indians are going crazy on the space stuff, too.
To the narrow cylindrical section of Tianhe, this is the crew quarters. There are individual bunks for 3 crew members and all of the necessary facilities like the space toilet. And then at the wider end of the core module is a working area with 3 experimental racks. This is also where the propulsion section for the station is located. This maintains orbital control. And lastly, there is another docking port at the end of the module that is specifically for the Tianzhou cargo craft. This is also a future docking port for the Chinese space telescope. The Tianhe is also the module that supports the station's main robotic arm, which is 10 meters in length. It's a little shorter than the Canada Arm 2 that is currently in operation at the ISS, which is 17 meters long, but the Chinese arm does have a similar capability and the
Bro, it's not the size, okay? It's not the size of the wave that matters, it's the motion of the ocean. Chill.
possibility for expansion. More on that in a bit. On July 24th, 2022, China launched their Wenxian Research Laboratory module for the Tiangong. The name Wenxian translates as Heavenly Quest. This is another 20-ton structure that was deployed on the Long March 5B rocket. This is China's first heavy-lift space launcher and is responsible for getting the 3 modules of the Tiangong into their 400-kilometer high orbit. The Long March 5B configuration is a really interesting rocket design. It uses a hydrogen fuel burning core stage and is strapped with 4 liquid-fueled side boosters that burn RP-1 kerosene. This combination makes the Long March 5B the 3rd most powerful rocket currently in service around the world, behind the Falcon Heavy at number.
Can I do a I told you so? Joe Biden now says they won't enforce the TikTok ban on January 19th. They are leaving it up to Donald Trump to figure it out. Our position on this has been clear. TikTok should continue to operate under American ownership. It will be up to the next administration to implement. The law states that the president can grant a one-time extension delaying the ban for up to 90 days under 3 specific conditions. TikTok must show it's on a path of executing a divestiture from its Chinese owner ByteDance. There must be evidence of significant progress towards a sale, must be sealed with relevant legal binding agreements, Meanwhile, the Justice Department can impose fines up to $5,000 per user on companies like Google and Apple if they continue hosting the app after the ban takes effect. Have you seen the cultural exchanges happening on Red Note? Thoughts? I'm sorry. I'm too much of a foreigner, I think. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, the way that Twitter and well-intentioned people treat Chinese people like they're an alien species is like kind of weirded me out as someone from Turkey. It's just me. I'm alone on this. I'm happy. I'm happy that Americans are finally realizing that Chinese people are also human beings. It's crazy because there's so many Chinese people in America, but like I think I'm too much of a first generation immigrant to cherish the fun that Americans are having, to celebrate it in the same way. It just kind of makes me feel weird with the way that like everyone's being normal and it's great, but it just like shocks me that this needed to happen for so many people. Holy shit. You're so cringe, Hasan. I mean, yeah, I'm woke of the day. It's wild how brain broken Americans are that they had to like literally see Chinese people where they're at to be like, oh wow, they're humans.
Number 1 and the Delta IV Heavy. The process that this particular rocket uses to put these 20-ton payloads into their orbital path is pretty unique and very controversial. So once the rocket clears Earth's atmosphere, which happens at about 100 kilometers in altitude, those 4 side boosters will drop off, but the core booster engine will continue to burn. A typical rocket will have a full stage separation at this point, where the entire lower section of the rocket will detach and fall back down to Earth, where it usually splashes into the ocean. And again, on a typical rocket, a second stage engine will then fire up to propel what's left of the rocket and the payload into the orbital insertion. The Long March 5B doesn't do that. After the 4 side boosters drop off, the rocket stays whole and the core booster engines propel the module all the way to its orbital insertion point before finally separating. That means the majority of the rocket structure is now in orbit, so it won't just fall straight back down into the ocean. But it's not in a stable orbit either, so it won't stay up there for too long.
Are you sure that post is trustworthy? Yeah. They delivered they talked about it earlier today. I don't know where it is. I'm sure we have it in our coverage. I know I clicked on a link somewhere around here. I thought I had it. Yeah, the way the Chinese people don't believe that America is, and they're asking if it's propaganda. Someone on Red Note asked if it's true that minimum wage hasn't been increased in 16 years, or if it was just their government's propaganda. I don't know if these are real, by the way. Someone in the comments of Red Note asked me if we were really had to pay for an ambulance in America, if it was just their government's propaganda. I don't. Maybe. American student talked to a Chinese student and started crying.
In China, and their law schools are $798 per year, which just makes me feel so angry because I have like $450,000 in debt just to go to law school. And I'm explaining this extremely bonkers system that we have, and I'm like, this is a slave contract because I'll never be able to pay back these loans.
I mean, yeah, that's the whole point. I'm glad that people are recognizing this reality. I think it's hard for you guys to comprehend where I'm coming from with this if you've grown up in America your whole lives, okay? Or if you're an American originally and did not grow up in a different country, because it's a reminder that like no matter how woke someone is, no matter how open-minded someone is, they still like literally think you're kind of an alien if you're not raised on US soil, you know, with that real American education. But yeah, I mean, this is like what I actively try to communicate to people that will listen here on a daily basis, which is that, yeah, these people are just like normal people. And also they don't live in this like insane, insane censorious shithole or something.
It's going to circle the Earth for a few days as it slowly loses altitude and gets pulled back into the atmosphere. Now, these are just too big to vaporize like a regular satellite. It doesn't stay whole, but chunks are going to make it all the way down to the surface of the Earth. And that's why this particular Long March 5B booster stage broke up over the Indian Ocean and rain down scrap metal over the islands of Indonesia. Anyway,
The Red Note discourse has done a lot to teach people that China isn't this underdeveloped third world country. I mean, even if a country was an underdeveloped third world country, the people in it are still the same as you and I, you know? Found out where Joe Rogan gets his news from.
Setting fires, and he had a UN debit card.
What?
And he had a bunch. I'll send it to Jamie. The guy that got arrested for.
No.
I'll tell you which fire it was.
No.
But he got arrested. He had a UN card. I'll tell you exactly.
This kind of
this
tragedy brings out the best in people and the worst in people.
Why is this guy on Joe Rogan still? Like, even, oh my God. Oh my God. Let's see.
The one thing it does is, in these communities, it brings all these people together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my buddy started to cry because I was on the phone with him. He lost everything, right? And they're going to come stay with us. And he said, when I was on the phone, these people dropped by and dropped off clothes for them. And he's got a lot of money. And he started to cry, man. He was like, I can't tell you how many people have reached out.
He had 5 cell phones and a United Nations prepaid debit card.
What is a United Nations prepaid debit card, man?
I'm a Gen Z stan.
What is a United Nations prepaid debit card?
I'm skeptical. Is this
Of course you are.
conspiracy?
You're always skeptical.
Is this
You son of
conspiracy?
a
I just don't
bitch.
want to be played.
No, I think the New York Post did a thing about it.
You know what I mean, though? I don't want to be played. I don't know what's true
Maybe
anymore.
the New York Post didn't post that he had the debit card.
Yeah, I don't know what's true.
Brian Callen, the cynical rapist. The skeptical rapist.
Getting
True
us
anymore.
from the
See?
Texas Patriot Twitter
See?
account.
You see? I told you. I'm already like, I don't know.
They said that the New York Post has edited the info out of their article.
Thank you.
Why? Because it's not true.
Spreading rumors, Joe
Texas
Rogan.
Patriot account said that.
Oh, so then.
They, look at the comments
right.
below.
You got played.
Maybe not. Maybe the New York Post
Oh my God, Joe. Give it up, dude.
are a bunch of pussies and a bunch of libtards.
The New York Post is very conservative.
They are kinda. Yeah.
Rocking the Muhammad Ali shirt with the American flag, too. That's what makes it even funnier. UN refugee debit card. So it was a Syrian refugee. There was a quote that has to change with the times where it goes, teach the poorest white man he's better than the richest black man and he won't notice if you pick his pockets. That was Lyndon B. Johnson who said that. Hell, he'll open up his pockets for them. Racist MAGA guy meets Chinese Uyghur.
My man knows some Chinese.
马是
马是? Doesn't make sense.
horseshit.
Oh, 马是. It's horseshit in English, but we don't say 马是.
Nobody says it, but I say it. And by the way,
Yeah.
when I talk
I doubt, is this a real MAGA guy?
about the second coming of Christ, you're a white boy.
I'm not a white
So
boy.
you're white.
I'm not. I'm Chinese. Don't you know that China has never been a homogenous country? We have a lot of different ethnic groups.
Bro, I want you to go to the bathroom right now. I want you to take a look at the mirror. I want you to say, I'm not a white boy.
I'm not a white boy. I'm not.
For real.
Yeah, for real. I belong to the ethnic group called Uyghur. You probably heard of
Uyghurs?
that.
Yeah. Wow. Wait, why is chat not correcting him for saying Uyghur like they do every time I say it? There's always in the chat being like, Hassan, I'll have you know it's called Uyghurs, not Uyghurs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he has a Kerry Lake plate behind him. He is a MAGA guy. Never mind.
Oh, Xinjiang?
Yeah, Xinjiang.
It's funny because I heard about Xinjiang and the Uyghur concentration camps, but then I talked to a recent Chinese and they were from Xinjiang.
Yeah.
And that Chinese person told me, no, that's bullshit.
Because that is bullshit. I'm telling you that too.
That's crazy.
That is all propagandist.
I'm almost believing it, bro.
You should
At this
believe it.
point, you're from the north of Chinese and you're from South China.
Yeah.
They're racist against each other.
It just few people does that shit. Because everywhere has some bad people. Mostly people are good. People are kind to each other. It's not as many racism as the America does.
We have more minority. Well, we got every ethnicity. We are the least racist.
Oh,
country on the planet.
You believe that?
I believe that 100%. You could be Jew, the Jews, by the way. Sorry. You could be Chinese, you could be black, white, gay, straight, trans, whatever, dude. Do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Low key, we kind of are the least racist. Bro, what are you saying? How delusional can one be to say America's the least racist country on the planet? Like, that is insane. Our one like existing manufacturing industry is literally dealing weapons of war. Where do you think those weapons of war are used? Like, I'm not even talking about chattel slavery and the continuation of the practice, and then basically legalizing a form of chattel slavery by utilizing the criminal justice system. I'm talking like also in terms of foreign policy. It's just crazy. It's crazy to think America is low-key the least racist.
I was married to a Chinese. Ding chong, the ping pong, bing bong.
Fuck, stop saying that, man. Stop
Sing
saying that.
song. Sing song? No, don't sing song. Play song.
Stop that shit.
It's a joke, bro.
I'm getting offense right now. That is
You're a
fucking
white piece of
that
shit,
is
bro.
Get the out of here, man. I'm Chinese, 100%. Getting
You're fucking white as bro.
Come on, you know nothing about China, man.
Okay, hold on. Hold on. Can I play you some Chinese music?
Holy shit, cello?
That was unexpected. I'm not gonna lie. That was unexpected. That's crazy. Oh my God, that's crazy. Dude, what is going on, man? We got cultured racists now? What's happening? Is this a bit? Like, what the hell?
You can even do that shit? I didn't expect that at all.
Oh, I know. That's why I always leave it towards like the end, because people be like, "Oh my God, he's a racist. He got a MAGA hat. Oh my God, he fucking must be anti-Chinese." Nah, dude. I love Chinese culture. Most of my people.
Yeah.
My people, white people.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you're Chinese, right?
Yeah, I'm Chinese.
Most of my people.
Bro, we need to we need to do lobotomies. Like we actually need to do lobotomies like ASAP. No, he just straight up racist as hell. But also, weirdly enough, can whip up the cello. Like, you said fund the arts and look what happened. I didn't think it was gonna be like that, dude.
We agree, bro. Like, it's not the Chinese people that we're against, bro.
What the hell is going on, man? It's an upright bass, not a cello. Double bass, not a cello. My bad, man. This doesn't seem like a bit, no.
I think I gotta say it. I love Gen Z right now. They're just feisty. They're very feisty right now. And to see the way they are reacting to people trying to censor their speech, this is incredible. This is amazing. And you're going to have to park aside your feelings about China. Obviously, I agree with the fact that China is a threat, but I also kind of think America and our deep state and the CIA is the bigger threat. The homeland threat seems a little bit bigger, the domestic threat, than the foreign threat at this moment. Okay, so what am I speaking about? So there is, let me just show you this headline.
Dude, Candace Owens is such a farmer, dude. It's crazy. She's such a goddamn farmer, dude. Are we right wing now? Wait, what? No, she just knows what's popular. This is her whole shtick. She'll sometimes take like not the old out of touch conservative position on issues that pertain to like pop culture to consistently elevate her status. And then obviously when push comes to shove, she'll do a documentary about how George Floyd deserved to be murdered and wasn't murdered at all, actually killed himself. I hate these people.
on NBC. Chinese TikTok alternative Red Note tops app charts ahead of potential TikTok ban. Okay. So just to be clear, the #1 most downloaded app right now in the App Store is Red Note. Red Note. It's in Mandarin. They can't even read it, and they're all downloading it. So I'm going to give you the backstory of the TikTok ban. Initially, when Trump got into office, he essentially was very tough on China. And in 2020, he said, we've got to do something about China. They're stealing all of our data. You know, he was doing the America first. We're also going to be tough on tariffs, et cetera, et cetera. And in August of 2020, he tried to ban TikTok via executive order. And it didn't work. There was tons of resistance, people saying that it would be a violation of free speech. This can't happen, blah, 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 blah. Then, of course, October 7th happened, and TikTok was incredible.
Nobody knows who she is in chat? Wait, really? People in this community are not familiar with Candace Owens? Clandis Owens? The Clandis Owens? You must know. She's fallen off? No, she hasn't fallen off. She's fallen on, chat. Are you kidding me? Even after she left the Daily Wire, she's been popping off. You're wrong.
Incredibly pro-Palestine, okay, to the point that they began censoring the word Palestine, and the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, which is really just the Anti-Free Speech League, and the Smear and the Slander League, decided that they needed to now step in. Forget you thinking your president has power. We, the ADL, our lobby, AIPAC, we're going to get this done now because we don't like that Gen Z is anti-Israel.
That's the anti-Semite of the year, Clandis Owens, who unironically is anti-Semitic. Like, she actually is anti-Semitic.
And then the kids got smart and started using
she's anti-Israel too, but she's also anti-Semitic.
Because they couldn't say Palestine or get any views and things were getting banned, started using watermelon signs, okay? But then very quickly, Congress passed an act. Like I said, forget the president in 2020. They were like, oh, yes, no, TikTok must immediately be banned. Now we got to get rid of this or it must sell. And that date is now coming up. And so the TikTokers are going, we are not with this. You are not going to censor our speech. We are not okay with you selling it to somebody that's going to censor our speech. And so what they have started doing.
Is Clandis pro-Palestine? Yes. I mean, she's more anti-Israel than she is, I would say, pro-Palestine. She's anti-Israel.
Is downloading Red Note. And basically, this is just China's TikTok. And it's really funny to just look through what they are saying here, because there is something, and speaking to this generational divide, the younger kids don't really care when you tell them that their data is being stolen, because basically they assume that their data is being stolen one way or the other. Is it from the CIA? It's from this person. They don't have trust in our government, because our government has done really crappy things as well. And they also can't afford groceries. So yeah, whether or not China is stealing their data isn't a priority in their lives. This is one person. It says, TikTok, me arriving to China.
Hello? Hello?
Hello guys, this is your Chinese spy speaking. I want to post this video before it's too late. I guess we are not going to see each other again in the future. That's why I have...
Good take for once. Nah, she... Just as long as you don't listen to all the stuff that she says, I mean, it's the Dan Bilzerian phenomenon where it's like you hear Dan Bilzerian in 30-second increments and you're like, damn, this guy's based. And then you hear him on the 32nd second and you go, oh my God, he is in the most anti-Semitic man to ever existed. It's the same with like Clandis Owens. This is a person who is literally... This is a person who straight up said Hitler was just trying to make make Germany great. Candace Owens famously said Hitler is just trying to make Germany great. Okay? And that it was actually Hitler's globalist policies that was a problem when he started to, invade other countries. That was the issue. Like, that's her criticism of Hitler.
Something to say. It is a great honor to spy on you for the last few years. I wish you all have a great life in the future. Now,
what I will never forgive nor forget is also the fact that after she said Hitler just wanted to make Germany great. It was the globalism of Hitler that she has an issue with. The Daily Wire hired her and only fired her because not only was she anti-Semitic, which they knew when they hired her, but she was also anti-Israel. And that was a bridge too far. So make no mistake, whenever Ben Shapiro talks about Candace Owens, always remember that he knew that Candace Owens was a racist anti-Semite. He just didn't like that Candace Owens was a racist anti-Semite who happened to be anti-Israel.
Is something personal. Laura from California, you shouldn't drink that much Coca-Cola. It's bad for your health. Bye-bye, guys. Bye-bye.
So it's just, people are just mocking this. Like, oh, I guess we're not going to inspire you here. I'm very sorry. Come on. Come on. Gen Z is funny, and it's true. They're going to be playing whack-a-mole for a very long time because this is America, okay?
You are wrong. She's nowhere near Dan Bilzerian. Are you insane? You are wrong. Watch her content before you make assumptions, lol. I've been familiar with Candace Owens' game since before you were in your father's ballsack chatter. The f*** are you talking about? You are wrong. Trying to educate me on Candace Owens. Like, you know, this is my forte. This is the one thing that I am absolutely the most knowledgeable on. I've been in the trenches. Go do a little bit of research and come back to me. You're going to feel a little embarrassed, I think. I can't believe Candace got some glazers in the chat. It makes sense, though. She is just as wrong as you are. Wait, what? Who is wrong? Now we got an anti-Candace, anti-Hasan chatter. Yeah. Candace Owens, if Hitler just wanted to make Germany great and have things run well, okay, fine.
And said it would have been okay if Adolf Hitler wanted to keep his activities to Germany while speaking.
Candace Owens started off as a pro-Obama blogger and was deeply anti-Trump. Candace Owens in high school actually won a lawsuit against the Connecticut Board of Education because she was victim to anti-black racist hate crimes that caused her to develop an eating disorder. Candace Owens then, under the Trump administration, realized there was a lot more money to be made grifting to Trump rather than against Donald Trump. And she very quickly pivoted and basically put a black face on white supremacy. For the most part, her job was to say some of the most unhinged, anti-black things you've ever heard, while also being a black woman. Throughout that process, she also started grifting in like multiple different directions, sometimes portraying herself as a black separatist, you know, not dissimilar to Clarence Thomas, okay? While in other instances, still maintaining a healthy dose of white supremacist sentiment, okay? I mean, she was a Daily Wire employee. She spent most of her time at Daily Wire shitting on George Floyd, shitting on Black Lives Matter, shitting on all black issues. She also was one of the most formative, one of the most influential people that brainwashed Kanye West, by the way. Not to say that Kanye West is a child or anything, but it's obvious that he was incredibly mentally vulnerable. And Candace Owens played a formative role in Kanye West becoming an anti-Semitic psycho. Yeah, much like Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, Candace Owens is a massive Thomas Sowell fan and, you know, spends most of her time still defending some of the craziest right-wing conspiracies. Why is she anti-Semitic? I don't know, man. Why is she anti-Semitic? Look at the freaking article headline. Like, look, it's in front of you, man. Words on screen. What do they mean? Here is
Thank you.
Candace Owens being asked by Representative Ted Lieu, playing a recording of Candace Owens saying these words.
Mr. Chair, in congressional hearings, the minority party gets to select its own witnesses. And of all the people that Republicans could have selected, they picked Candace Owens. I don't know Miss Owens. I'm not going to characterize her. I'm going to let her own words do the talking. So I'm going to play for you the first 30 seconds of a statement she made about Adolf Hitler.
I agree. I actually don't have any problems at all with the word nationalism. I think that it gets, the definition gets poisoned by elitists that actually want globalism. Globalism is what I don't want. So when you think about, whenever we say nationalism, the first thing people think about, at least in America, is Hitler. You know, he was a National Socialist, but if Hitler just wanted to make Germany great and have things run well, okay, fine. The problem is that he had dreams outside of Germany. He wanted to globalize. He wanted everybody to be German, everybody to be speaking German.
All right, so my first question is to Ms. Hirschenoff. Ms. Owens said, quote, if Hitler just wanted to make Germany great and have things run well, okay, fine.
Chatter about to be like, well, actually, was Hitler anti-Semitic? Like, what's next, Hasan? First you say Candace Owens is anti-Semitic. Now you're saying Hitler's anti-Semitic? Oh, okay. Like, what do you think making Germany great means in that situation? She was literally condemning Hitler in that quote. Oh my God, dude. Yeah, okay. How about if someone were to say, honestly, everything that Hitler did was fine, except for the fact that he was vegetarian. Would you consider that to be a sufficient condemnation of Adolf Hitler? Or do you think that that is actually a very silly way to approach the subject matter? Do you not think that right-wingers exist? All conservatives are just Russian trolls and all conservative personalities are just grifters? No, I do believe that right-wingers exist. Matt Walsh is a right-winger. Ben Shapiro is a real right-winger. Okay? Candace Owens, on the other hand, is someone who was trying to make money. I'm sure she's become more of a real right-winger in this process, in this time frame. Listen to what she said at the end. She said that if he wanted to force everyone to be German and speak German, etc. Dude, you're saying it's okay that Hitler was interested in mutilating and massacring German Jews. Just don't touch the Polish Jews. Do you understand? That argument is idiotic. What a stupid argument, dude. No, it's all right if Hitler was just going to do mass deportation of German Jews. After all, they deserve it. But the Polish Jews didn't? Is that what the argument is? What's going on right now? What are you talking about? What do you think Hitler making Germany great again was? Nah, that's not what I or anyone else is saying. Lol, don't start. Okay, you're oblivious to this reality, but that is what you're defending. And also, I gave you the examples as to why I think Candace Owens is a grifter, because she was an aggressive anti-Trump, pro-Obama blogger, okay? And she made that pivot almost overnight. So explain to me why you think it's okay for Hitler to do Hitler Nazi policies as long as he kept it into Nazi Germany, as long as he just like maintained the Hitler policies inside of Nazi Germany. Candace, as a teenager, was involved with the NAACP. I know, I talked about it already. She successfully sued the Connecticut Board of Education for money because she was victim to a hate crime that caused her to develop an eating disorder. She literally said that DC Jews were a rot in the community. Yeah, I mean, she said many different things since then. She said many different things since then about Jews in particular, okay? Like, I'm willing to entertain the ignorance that people have because there's so much anti-Semitic propaganda out there, especially given like how much power Israel seemingly has over America when it's not the case. So like, if someone comes in here, I'm not going to immediately assume that they're like a malicious anti-Semite. I'm going to my starting point is always going to be that it's probably rooted within ignorance. Okay? Because my job is to try and, move people away from having these anti-Semitic positions. But when you come in here and you defend a person who very clearly, very deliberately, and very maliciously is trying to get people to become anti-Semitic by constantly saying it's actually Jews and Israel that controls the United States of America and not America that controls Israel, and that it doesn't matter and it has nothing to do with Judaism whatsoever and everything to do with America's material interest in the region, then yeah, I'm gonna have a more strong opinion on that. Okay, there's no reason to be charitable to Candace Owens. It's crazy how one person spamming out Elon's rocket exploding led to a 20-minute video on the Chinese space station, which then led to a chatter talking about Red Note, which then led to a Candace Owens TikTok about Red Note, which then led to Hitler. I mean, welcome to the Hasanabi broadcast. The most charitable interpretation of what Candace Owens is saying in this situation is that she's too stupid to understand what she's saying. Okay. But ultimately, that doesn't change the reality that what she was trying to do in that regard was to defend nationalism on principle. Nationalism on principle is indefensible, but it's especially indefensible when you're trying to defend Hitler's nationalism. Okay? Maybe she was too stupid to recognize what she was saying in that moment. Maybe she wasn't trying to say, like, oh, Hitler's concentration camps or death camps for Jews inside of Germany is okay, but, you know, not in Poland. Maybe that's not what she was trying to say, if I'm going to be super charitable for no reason, because, like, she has since said many anti-Semitic things over and over again. Okay? But the reality of the matter is, that's still a statement that she made in defense of nationalism in Germany, historic nationalism in Germany, Nazi nationalism, in an effort to justify nationalism in America. She's also the defending 2024 anti-Semite champion. Okay, stop. That doesn't really mean anything. Stop Anti-Semitism is a ridiculous institution, and I will not give it credibility even if they accidentally arrive at a anti-Semitic person for once.
We do not like speech censorship, okay?
Why did Biden lie about the ceasefire, Avi? Gaza ceasefire deal reportedly formally signed. Gaza hostage deal and ceasefire officially signed in Doha, sources tell me.
You're not going to justify it or try to pretend it's anything else. We heard.
You're salty you lost, Lamau. Come on, guys. Considering that there's like actual people here that don't think Candace Owens is anti-Semitic or incredibly right-wing, it's kind of shocking to me that we're still making jokes about this. Like, please stop. Don't even fuck around, dude. There are obviously... Candace Owens has developed a massive audience both off of TikTok and off of her incredibly successful podcast. Okay? You understand that, right? Which means there are a shit ton of people who are completely oblivious to what Candace Owens' actual politics look like, possibly because her and Brett Cooper, and she's worse than Brett Cooper, if we're being real, routinely talk about culture issues like this. Okay? Meghan Markle's show postponed. Shout out to Beyonce. Jimmy Carter's funeral. Mark Zuckerberg for free speech. Justin Bieber versus Hollywood. It's always stuff like this, right? What is this? Debating destiny on Epstein? Oh, God. Did she do a video on you? I'm sure she has in the past. I think it's proof she fell off if people don't know her shit. No, dude. She fell on. Wake up. She fell on. She didn't fall off. She has a significantly larger audience than someone like myself. What are you talking about, dude? She has like the number 3 most subscribed to podcast. What the fuck are you guys talking about, dude? Wake up. Some of y'all are in such a vicious hug box that you are just oblivious to the reality. She has 3.4 million subscribers on YouTube. And since she left the Daily Wire because she got fired for anti-Semitism and, more importantly than anti-Semitism, anti-Israeli sentiment, because her anti-Semitism wasn't an issue for the Daily Wire, let's be real. Since then, she literally has launched or I think she still had a podcast at that point, an incredibly successful podcast. She quite literally is almost single-handedly responsible for Kanye West's like breakdown. Just because you don't care less and you say I could care less for that lady doesn't change the reality that she's putting up insane numbers out here. Okay? That USS Liberty video popped off with 5.5 million views. Where is it? Where? Second row? USS Liberty survivor speaks out.
All right, you guys, I'll get right into this. He went.
As a Navy vet, I've never heard of this story. 5.4 million views and no one in mainstream media or independent media is talking about this. I'm Indonesian watching this and reading. I'm 56. My family members served in the Navy. Americans are drowning in medical debt. Candace, my dad is a retired Navy guy and Vietnam vet. Stalin was Jewish. Kabbalists are pedophiles. Candace Owens is anti-Semitic conspiracies. Tristan Tate, who features on... You know what's ironic? These same outlets will write articles about me being anti-Semitic. That's what's so stupid about the way that pro-Israeli people operate, okay? They're so stupid. Pro-Israeli accounts and pro-Israeli media is so goddamn dumb where they will just like literally weaponize They will just straight up weaponize like any kind of anti-Israeli sentiment and conflate it with anti-Semitism, not recognizing that because everybody hates Israel, that people are just going to go, okay, I'm anti-Semitic then. They don't get it. It's so stupid. Good job, guys. Of course, everybody hates Israel. Everybody that doesn't have a weapons contract or isn't like someone who is tasked with defending the State Department's propaganda unconditionally is going to be like, yeah, this shit sucks, dude. No, I don't like the baby murder machine. Good job conflating the baby murder with Judaism in an effort to seemingly defend it. American conservative commentator Candace Owens made a number of controversial and conspiratorial claims on Wednesday episode of her show, including Stalin was a Jew, Freud was a Kabbalistic pedophile, and the Germans were ethnically cleansed by the Jews after World War II. Acknowledging that idiots are hoodwinked into hating Jews via hating Israel is not a tacit agreement with said idiots. That's what people don't understand. Exactly. No, 100%. But it's also additionally frustrating that, you know, this is like such a classic and such a cynical shield that people who are pro-Israel deploy so frequently that it ends up making people go, okay, well, I can see right from wrong. And if you keep telling me this is for Judaism and you keep calling out everybody who's against it anti-Semitic, then I guess I'm anti-Semitic. There's already a lot of like, there's already a lot of like underlying anti-Semitic tendency that people have. So all you're doing is like solidifying their position and saying like, no, they're actually righteous for being this way and feeling this way. The episode featured the American British influencer Tishran Tate to discuss several topics. Stalinists, according to the Owens, were part of the Jewish cabal. Dude, she's literally, this is like a Nazi line, by the way. Okay? Stalinists are a part of the Jewish cabal alongside, you know, initially the Jewish cabal was the socialists, right? Judeo-Bolshevism. The term cabal is often used as an anti-Semitic dog whistle, according to the American Jewish Committee and numerous other Jewish organizations. Jews have long been accused of being part of a secret group that controls the economic and political order. All right, whatever. This part is from the AJC. For a very long time, the media tried to convince us that Stalin and Vladimir Lenin were anti-Semitic. And then I learned Stalin was married to a Jew. Wait. Yeah, they weren't anti-Semitic. Well, especially Lenin. She also claimed Stalin was Jewish, citing a friend who understands Georgian. No, Stalin wasn't Jewish. What? Wait, this doesn't make sense. She's like, for a very long time, the media tried to convince us that Stalin and Vladimir Lenin were anti-Semitic. And I liked them for that reason. Is that what she's saying? It's like when the media kept telling me Stalin and Lenin were anti-Semitic, I developed a liking to them. She also was, Stalin was educated in an Orthodox Christian seminary, according to Simon Sebag Montefiore's biography on Stalin. Neither Stalin's two wives have any recorded Jewish ancestry. Stalin's daughter married a Jewish man. Svetlana, daughter of Stalin, said the fact that Kapler was a Jew was what bothered her father most of all. Svetlana went on to marry another Jewish man, and her father did not attend the wedding. Stalin's son Yakov also married a Jewish woman named Yulia. In his memoirs, Nikita Khrushchev said Stalin had a hostile attitude towards the Jewish nation. I hate this article. Germans. Owens, alongside Tate, also claimed that the Germans were ethnically cleansed following World War II, and that so many of the people who executed those crimes against Germans were then protected by the state of Israel. She referenced the Polish NKVD concentration camp commander Solomon Morel, who Israel refused to extradite despite requests from Poland. Owens claimed all her German friends were privately thanking her. Not only were their ancestors slaughtered, murdered, or ethnically cleansed and pushed out. Yeah, you know who really suffered after World War II? The Nazis. Israel and Jews. Candace Owens also argued that Jews defending Israel when they're killing children is tantamount to black people defending George Floyd because they're black. Oh my God. This is the guy, for the record, this is the lady that some of you were like, I don't understand. What's wrong with her attitude? You're not required to defend stuff that Theodore Herzl and Netanyahu were up to simply because you're Jewish. Many Jewish people that I grew up with have fallen victim to the same trap of BLM in Black America, where they teach you traumas about your history in the classroom. And then you have this like fear like that slavery is going to come back, she said, seemingly suggesting that the fear of slavery or the fear of anti-Semitism is without basis. Tristan Tate interjected to say that every time he questioned Israel, people start to say, oh, the Holocaust is going to come back. No, I have no interest in the Holocaust coming back, he continued. However, I think the state of Israel are war criminals, and I've said this a million times. Tate, however, added that he personally doesn't dislike people from Israel, just their government. There's no evidence to suggest that Freud studied the Kabbalah. What? Do you think it's worse if she actually believes the vile pedals or just doing it for money? It doesn't matter. The output is still the same, so I don't care. And she's still bad. Bro's cooked, morphing into his chair. I know. Anyway, if there is a decent article that is going to address Candace Owens' like anti-Semitic tendencies or anti-Semitic statements, it's probably not going to be the J Post, okay? And that Jerusalem Post article kind of covers that. That proves that what I'm saying in a perfect way. Are we under a bad star or something? What is with all these clandestine cultists? You don't understand. She popped off so big with like the anti-Israel stuff. So, of course, a lot of people only know her as like the anti-Israel person that got fired from the Daily Wire. Okay? That's it. So they don't actually know, like, they don't actually interviewing my husband.
What is the most difficult part about being married to Candace Owens?
How long have we got? Well, I like to joke with you, and you know that I tell you this joke. So really, this is just for the audience, but I like to joke that there are many different women I'm married to because I'm never quite sure who I'm going to get in one day. So it's like someday I'm going to get one personality, and the next day it's this personality, and then you've got your investigative journalist hat on, and then you've got your mother's hat on, and then you've got your Catholic hat on. So there's a few hats that you're wearing at any one point in time. So it's always fun. I wouldn't say that's...
Yeah, that guy's gay, bro.
That's difficult. It's really just a joy of who you are as a person.
You're being kind. It's also been a tremendous challenge. And I think personally to you, because you're so different from the environment that you're now stuck into, which is to say,
yeah, that's true.
You are an Englishman. You like to retreat, sort of read your texts, a quiet place with a cigar.
Yep, this is all correct.
This is all very correct.
All British
and then you
things.
marry this sort of loud American. You don't like taking pictures. You don't like being seen or photographed. And then you marry this loud American. And so you've really had to adjust, I think would be the correct word.
Yeah, it is the meeting of the two cultures is perfected in our marriage, I would say. Yeah, the bombastic Americanism versus the retired English persona has definitely been like fine-tuned.
What is the...
Someone in the chat says Stalin provided arms to the perpetrators who did the Nakba. I was about to say Jerusalem Post being anti-Stalin is kind of fucked up because at least in its inception, Stalin was, as far as I understand, somewhat pro-Israel. Now, that opinion might have changed over time, but in the inception, so it's kind of weird. Kind of fucked up. He didn't have internet. True. Yeah, lots of people were like, oh, the socialist kibbutz, that sounds like a great idea. Anyway,